What's going on, everyone? It's Zach with the Wicked Heavy Podcast. And in today's episode, I sit down with Dan Lomeli, aka Danny Hammer, of Incendiary. Now, I met Dan through my time at SJC, of course, like many of the other artists that come on this podcast. He had already been playing SJC drums at the time. He had probably one of the most unique kits, size-wise. And when I got introduced to him and I found out what he was playing, I was like, dude, that's wild. But I became a fan of his band and then met him at Alto Music a couple years later. And just kept in touch. Been listening to Incendiary ever since then, and I knew I wanted to get him on the podcast to hear his story, to hear about the scene in New York, hear what Incendiary has going on, and learn about his past. So, Danny, thank you so much for coming on, man. I learned a lot from you, and I enjoyed our conversation. And I hope you all enjoy this episode with Danny Hammer of Incendiary on the Wicked Heavy Podcast. Danny, my dude, thank you for coming on to the podcast. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Anytime, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, dude. Man, I think last time I saw you was maybe at Alto Music for Loyal to
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Craft.
Yeah. It was like SJC day, right? Yeah, we were
Yeah.
up at Alto, and my friend Donnie worked up there,
Yep.
and it was just like an easy connection.
Does he still work there?
Uh, I want to say yes, but I'm not exactly sure. I see him in passing a
Yeah.
lot, like at shows or festivals. He plays in Mind Force.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so like, and we usually cross paths shows wise. Uh, I'm not sure. I think last time I talked to him, he said he might not have been, but
Yeah.
I can't honestly
Got
remember.
it. Yeah. So for those listening, I was artist rep at SJC, as you know, if you've heard the earlier episodes, and I worked with Danny at the time, and then finally got to meet him. We did like a little tour across, I want to say like Northeast, ended up at Alto Music, one of our dealers, and he was there chilling. Finally got to meet him. And then,
Yeah.
there were cool people on staff that also were in bands too. It seems like New York has such a strong hardcore scene, like in
Yeah.
particular. What's up with that? Has it always been like that?
I think so. I mean, this is like a big debatable thing, but
Oh,
if you kind of count hardcore as like springing up at the same in like multiple places at around
yeah,
the same time, kind of like this zeitgeist way, it's like New York, DC, and LA were like
yeah,
the three big hotspots for it. So, like I mean, I think especially New York and DC on the East Coast.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
where a lot of the early hardcore came from. So yeah, New York hardcore has always like, as far as I know, been like a thing. Like
yeah,
CBGBs in the '80s, Lower East Side, like a lot of that stuff. Uh, it was very prevalent. Like I guess it still had this kind of always there presence kind of thing. I think in terms of
yeah,
hardcore. For sure.
yeah. No, it's cool, man. Like I remember, I was super surprised, like when Donnie was like, "Yeah, I'm in Mind Force," and then I look up that band too, and I'm already listening to
Mhm.
Incendiary. I was like, "Damn, there's a lot of sick music coming out of this place."
Yeah.
um,
It's just New York's, I think, always been like one of those competitive breeding grounds for
yep,
music, especially heavy music, and even more dialed in like hardcore. Uh, whether it be New York City, the boroughs, or Long Island. I think especially Long Island, you could kind of point to the fact that everyone lives so close and on top of each other.
right,
You usually wind up with like, one person, like there's a lot of people who are in multiple bands with
yeah.
just various combinations of the same people.
Well,
So
I
it's
just
always,
noticed your Instagram. It said Carcosa. I'm like, wait a minute,
yeah.
he's in more than one band. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah. I'm in like two and a half like part-time active bands, and then like on
Yeah.
call for five other bands. It's just
Okay.
like that kind of
Sick.
thing. I've always been that way though. Like before I got married and before I had a kid, I was like every summer I was in at least four active bands that were playing all
Yeah.
the time. So I would do, but I didn't want to practice like 4 nights consecutively a week because I would never see my girl slash fiance at the time.
Yeah.
So I would double stack my practices on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it would be like I'd work 9 to 5, 9 to 5:30, then practice 6 to 8, for the first band, then drive to
Oh
second
man,
practice, and then do 9 till whenever we finish for band two, and then do that every Tuesday and Thursday for like, I don't know, 6 8 months.
unreal.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's a lot. Hey, ripping it though. That's
But you
fun.
get good, you practice a lot. So like,
Yeah, yeah.
especially if you're already comfortable with a lot of the fundamentals, like you're just like building really good time and feel, playing
Yeah.
with that many different bands, even though they're not like genre specifically that different, but playing with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different musicians and getting to feel out and get to, just like kind of like vibe with other musical humans is like a something
Yeah.
that you can't really, put a price tag on or practice like
No,
any
no,
other way.
that's it. Playing with people, man. That's it. Like playing live too, right? That's how you
Mhm.
learn and become really great and refine. So that's awesome. But the main gig, Incendiary, right?
Incendiary. Yeah.
So tell me about this audio tree session, man. How did that come about? So sick.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So like I think 2 years ago we were supposed to do a big show at the Metro with Knock Loose.
Okay.
And I think Arms Way. It was like a big Chicago show. The night we were flying out, there was this massive torrential downpour in New York. Uh,
Oh,
to the point where we almost got trapped at the airport because the exit ramps were getting flooded and cars couldn't get out. Luckily, we
okay.
had
Oh
a,
my
a
gosh.
psychotic Uber driver who didn't care and went the wrong way on on an entrance ramp and got to the BTU. And we didn't have to sleep at the airport that night. But we had been trying to make it up to people of Chicago for having to drop that show. So we hopped on a show with Drug Church and Drain when that tour was going through at the Metro.
Yeah.
Um, and when that show got announced, the Audio Tree people reached out to us because they're in the, greater Chicago area.
Okay.
Uh,
Is that so? Most of the time, audio tree sessions they're probably catching bands that are on tour. Then I didn't know this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Oh,
I
okay.
used I had to use that house kit there because I didn't have like my drums and like everything's really really small. You can probably see it in the videos.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
There's like
yeah.
a 20-inch kick and like really small toms and like all single brace hardware. And I was like sweating because
Oh man.
having a problem with my stuff moving around on me.
Yeah.
So I'm in trouble.
Oh no way.
It
Interesting.
sounded cool. It was like a CNC kit. Um,
Yeah.
everything sounded tight and nice. They have a really great studio there that tracked everything. Um, the audio wasn't a problem. I was just like afraid of like the kit and the hardware. I was just like, oh, everything's gonna
Moving
be
on.
moving
Yeah.
on. Yeah,
Damn.
yeah. But it worked out fine. But yeah, they
Yeah.
usually catch things on tour as they're coming through town, so they could set up. They have their a whole tour set
Right.
up. When we tour, we just usually bring guitars and I bring
Yep.
my cymbals and pedals. And we either like rent gear when we get there. There's a back line because we're playing a festival, or if we're doing a couple of shows with the band, we usually borrow their cabs and heads and stuff.
Oh, okay. Cool. Nice. What size is the kick on the new acrylic kit?
It's 20 24 15.
Oh, sit. Okay, cool. Unique. There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I went because the white one is 24 17.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's
It's a
big.
lot. It's a lot of hair to move to that 17. When we
Yeah.
play it. Night and day difference that 15 to 17 makes.
Oh, unreal.
Holy,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like,
Oh,
like
wow.
Goku with the weighted clothes off, like I'm just zipping, and it's a lot more of it's easier to get a punchier sound. I don't know if it's just because of the acrylic, but definitely because it's shorter.
Yeah.
Um, it's a lot harder. You can tell in the audio from the Bowery show. Um, put a video of that up a couple months ago when we played New York. Our friend Bradley did audio for us that day. He was our sound guy, and he got me a board recording that I matched up with the video, and it
Yeah.
did the whole thing with sound.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Dude, so the first when I like found out this is pre joining SJC,
Mhm.
working there. When I found out I could like be interviewing, I was like, man, I just really want an SJC kit. And there was this one for sale in like Braintree, Mass. And it was come to find out it was like scraps that became a kit. Dude, the kick was
Mhm.
12 by 26. It
Oh
was
my God.
wild, bro. So it was just like this narrow, but it was it
Yeah.
was it was so sick and it was so easy to move around. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
the floor tom was a weird size. I think it was like a 15-inch floor tom,
Mm.
like not like depth, like just a 15-inch head, and then like maybe a 7 by 13 rack. It was weird, but it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
whatever works. At the end of the day, I bet that
that's right.
1226 kick was like crazy sound. That's like pancake
Oh,
kick
dude,
or
it was pretty sick because it was like boomy, but also like it had some attack. It was just so
something.
short.
Yeah,
So sick. All right. Well, so New England Metal Fest. I know I was like rainy that day, but I saw the
yeah.
video, man. It looked like people were throwing down. Was it sick?
Yeah, yeah, it was a really great time. Had it not rained, it would probably have been like a perfect day,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
So many great bands were playing. I personally was like, oh man, like Red Chord is playing just before us. I'm a huge Red Chord fan. I
Yeah.
haven't seen them in 15 years. So I was like, oh, I'm stoked to see them. Oh, they're playing right before us. I'm not going to see them. But it was great
Right.
because as we were setting up, they were playing right across
Yeah.
the parking
Yeah.
lot.
Pretty close together, the stages. Yeah. That's sick.
So I was able to
Nice.
catch them. I saw a lot of friends that we hadn't seen in a while. Met some people who who I've only talked to online, and now I got to meet in person.
Yeah.
Uh, Stood on stage for Converge, which was like lifetime highlight for me.
Yes, sir. So
You know,
crazy. Everyone was
yeah,
like, that was what I was watching that too. I was like, man, like I'm just sick that they let everyone up there. It was awesome.
yeah. It was really something else, and it's just shout out to Scott Lee for always putting us on. This is our fourth New England Metal and Hardcore Festival.
Hmm.
And Scott's been riding for us like since the beginning, pretty much. He's been down with us and what we do, and um, got a lot of respect for us, and we have a lot of respect for him, and it's been a really good relationship.
It's badass, man. Good for
Yeah,
you guys. Well, as we do on this podcast, I like to take it way, way, way back
yeah.
to when you were a child, man. Do you remember when you first heard music? When you first like recognized, oh, this is music? You know, you don't know what it was, where you were. What's the
Mm.
story, brother?
Yeah. I have a pretty like broad musical palette for like multitude of reasons. My dad played guitar. He was in bands when he was younger with his brother. Um, they played, a lot of like school dances and all that stuff, like in the 70s when, think Back to the Future.
Yeah,
This
sick.
is like that. My dad was always really into music and was really into showing me stuff and stuff that he enjoyed when he was younger. So he was like a Beatles, The Who, Led Zeppelin, kind of guy. Allman Brothers. He was into a lot
Yep.
of that stuff. So a lot of my earliest music that I listened to was just the classic rock stations because he's a landscaper too, and I would hang out with him on the truck some days.
Cool.
Um, or like when he was working around the house, that's what he would play. So I got that from him. My mom was a lot into like the 50s Motown type stuff.
Hmm.
So that's what she would listen to. So I picked up on that from her. My grandfather was into jazz and classical. So anytime we were hanging out over there, he'd always play like all these like classical music records and stuff like that to get me and my brother into it, just to expose it to us. And
Of course.
we listen to like 1812, overture and run around the basement, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Just like fun stuff like that. And so that's pretty much where it all started. And then my dad would get like tapes like Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses. Like he was into a lot of that, like I guess late hair metal, getting
Yeah.
into like hard rock, heavy metal of the late '80s, early '90s.
Yep.
He was into a lot of that. So, that's what I was into too, because I look up to my dad a lot in terms of music. So anything he listened to, I was into. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, he really liked.
Yep.
So I listened to Emerson, Lake and Palmer when I was like 7. I don't know
Hmm.
any other 7-year-olds that were listening to,
Right. Right.
you
Yeah.
know, a cassette tape with a H.R. Geiger album art, at 7.
Right.
I was.
There you go.
Um, and then when I was in 5th grade, Nirvana came out. Never mind.
Okay.
And that was the like I very distinctly specifically remember being like, this is like music for me. Like I get this.
Cool.
Like this is like an arrow pointing to me, like hearing this. And I was like, yeah, like everything else my dad showed me, but he didn't show me this. I heard this on TV myself. I found this is I have it now.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
how I felt about Nirvana.
Yeah. That's cool.
Uh, and I just loved it. 6th grade, I got into Rage Against the Machine, and then then it was just like it's like the stories like you read the how you found out about hardcore bands way before the internet. Aside
Yeah.
from flyers, you buy a record and you read the liner notes and you check out the thank yous. And those were other bands that band hung out with and liked.
Wow. Okay.
So
Interesting.
that's how you found out about all these other hardcore bands. So I would always check out before I even was into hardcore. I was like fifth, sixth grade. I would always look at the liner notes and read about all this stuff, and then you see the thank yous of other bands that band talks about, and then so you just check them out.
Whoa.
Then there was I'm really dating myself here, but I'm old, so it's okay. There was the Columbia House 12 CDs for a penny scam. That
Okay.
was for those of you who are tuning in that are way too young for this. There was this uh, CD warehouse wholesaler called Columbia House, and they would send you this thing where it would be like 12 CDs for a penny. And it was like, holy shit, that's crazy because CDs are $20. But what it would do is it would secretly sign you up for this like automated rebill delivery thing where you would get 4 CDs a month and they would automatically charge your credit card if you
Oh, it's
didn't pay
messed
until
up.
after you got 12.
Yeah.
Most people forgot about it. You would keep the CDs, or you could mail them back, but you would still get charged, and then you had to wait for the charge to go back. It was honestly bullshit. But I was like 15. Someone decided to give me a credit card. I signed up for this thing, got the 12 CDs. I probably remember most of the ones that I picked, but it was like I think it was No Doubt, Tragic Kingdom, 311 Blue Album, The Crow soundtrack, uh, Pantera, Great Southern Trendkill. Like it was like this like whole
Wow.
cavalcade. Um, and then so that was how I got another exposure to music was that Columbia House 12 CD
Yeah.
for
What an interesting deal. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah. I mean, you paid shipping, so it wound up being like 20 flat. But and then the recharge thing was just like nonsense. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah.
eventually to the point where like my mom was getting pissed because all these CDs kept showing up.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah.
"Who's
Oops.
paying for this?" It was like, well, I told her the whole story. She like called Columbia House and like chewed him out for an hour. It's like,
Oh my
it's not even
gosh.
you shouldn't
Yeah.
even have a credit card. How you like flipping out on? They
Oh
refunded
wow.
everything.
How
It
many
was
CDs did you end up
hysterical.
getting, you think, total?
Probably like 24 CDs
That's
in
cool.
total,
That's
before the shit.
that's awesome. That's a gold back
Yeah,
then, man. It's unreal.
yeah. And like I've been playing in bands around that time too, like sixth, seventh grade is when I got my first drum kit.
How'd
Um,
you know you wanted to play drums?
so in grade school at the end of third grade, the band teacher comes into your class.
Yep.
In my elementary school, this is what happened. Band teacher comes in your class and says, "We're doing music next year as one of your rotational, special event days or whatever. Um, Everyone write down 3 instruments you think you would want to play." And he came in and he played every instrument. And he was just like, if any of these seem fun to you, write it down on the paper. And, we're doing assessments next. I wanted to play the saxophone. I thought it was cool. I think I had seen a bunch of like saxophone players on TV. Huey Lewis in the news. It was the 80s.
Yeah.
Everything had a saxophone in it. Um, so I was like, I want to play the saxophone. I think number two, I wrote drums because that also looked cool. I think also I was like hypnotized by the drummer from Def Leppard because he had the one arm thing, and
Yeah,
Def
yeah.
Leppard videos were everywhere on MTV at the time. So I kind of, and Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee was another
Yeah.
big draw for the drums for me because there were so many more videos on MTV.
Mm-hmm.
Playing on MTV all the time. And it's just seeing like this huge drum kit and Tommy Lee twirling sticks and turning upside down, like it was like
Oh
that's
yeah.
cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah, it
I
is.
want to do that. So I tried out for saxophone. I was a really short kid for most of my life, so my hands couldn't hold the saxophone to play it correctly. I didn't have the spacing. So he's
Wow.
like, "Hey, your hands are too small for the saxophone. How about the drums? No one else really signed up for it. We need drums." So I was like, "Okay." So me and my friend Glenn in my class were the only two or three drummers in elementary school.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, and that was it. Because I was short, I'm a drummer.
You're like pretty tall now.
Yeah, I'm like 6'2". I grew like there's a picture of me and my friend George in 10th grade at the Sweet 16, and like my head is below his shoulder. And then there's a picture of
Wow.
the following year where we're the same height.
Oh wow.
I just
Yeah.
got up
Grew
over a
really
year.
fast. That's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah, a big glow up in 11th
Yeah.
grade. Yeah, but butterfly effect. I had small hands in third grade, so I'm a drummer today.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is
and
so
then
interesting. But you started
yeah, school
bands.
band.
You started joining bands then. That's crazy.
Well, not right away. I was in school band up until sixth grade, they kicked me out in the sixth grade band.
Oh.
They kept giving, yeah, it's a long, convoluted story, but essentially, like our sixth grade school band was like super competitive, but come to find out, the teacher would like cherry pick competitions that like were
Oh.
not so well attended by other schools, so it'd be like a shoe-in to win, like the
Oh.
number one seed always playing the number
Interesting.
15 seed. We had a lot of banners, but I don't think it was for any like great competition. But that's neither here nor there. I'm
Wow.
not one to talk out of class. Uh, so they kicked me out in sixth grade because they kept giving me cowbell. I wanted to do more. I never like practiced at home. I got in
Yeah.
trouble for not practicing at home because I didn't want to play cowbell.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Hey, whatever.
Um, yeah. So, but because my dad was in bands and he saw that I liked playing drums, because I was like a hit pots and pans and
Yeah.
couch cushions kind of kid. He was like, do you still want to play the drums? And I said, yeah, I think it'd be cool. And he's like, all right, if you work on my landscaping truck for the summer, at the end of the season, we'll get a drum set. And I was like, all right.
Wow.
So
Deal.
yeah, I worked like 3, 4 days a week on my dad's landscaping truck for the whole summer. And I come home one day and I hear my dad playing the drums down the stairs. It's crazy, you know?
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, it was a five-piece uh, track, which I think was probably like a subsidiary of a shell company of someone
Yeah.
else. But it was two rack toms, a floor tom kick with no front head, and I had a Pace 502 ride cymbal, and
Nice.
I forgot what my first hats were. But that was the kit that I had, like right off the jump, and I learned the first song I learned how to play was "Are You Gonna Go My Way" by Lenny Kravitz.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, I remember just like working on that for like it's forever, and then I got
Oh,
it. I
yeah.
was yeah, that's what's up, and
Did you
and then I
what
started.
happened when you got it? Did you like run upstairs and like freak out? Because I did that when I
I
first like,
I got to the door and I could hear my dad playing in the basement. He had set it up and he was like,
yeah.
just like he knew a little bit how to play drums. He was like I said, he was like a guitar player, but
Oh
he
no,
kind of
sorry.
like
When you learned how to play Lenny Kravitz, when you got it on your own. That's sorry. That's what I meant.
oh
Like, did
oh
you
oh
freak
yeah
out? Were you like, I just learned this song. I can't believe I'm playing it by
yeah
myself.
I couldn't wait to like tell my parents like that I
Yeah,
figured
yeah,
it
yeah.
out.
Same.
I
Yeah.
finally got like the hands and feet coordination together to where it like didn't sound like soupy garbage. It was just like a
Yeah.
consistent kind of thing, and I was just like I did
Yeah,
it.
dude. Great. Great
Fun
feeling.
time. And
Wow.
yeah, then a couple of kids in my class played guitar that lived in my neighborhood, and we got together and we just played covers. I think we had one original song, but we played like I don't know, 15 or 20 Beatles songs,
Oh wow.
and yeah, we played a lot of Beatles songs and we played a lot of Nirvana songs, and it was fun. Like we were just jamming in my backyard or the basement, and you know, God bless my parents for letting me play drums in the basement as much as I did. You didn't have a
Yeah,
huge house.
dude.
You had like a half basement,
Yeah.
uh, and I'm sure it was pretty annoying some days for
Oh
me to
yeah.
be uh, awfully playing drums downstairs at the time. But they were like, "This is what he wants to do."
Yep.
I know that there's not really a lot of practice spaces for teenagers,
Yeah.
so we didn't have a garage, so it's the way it was, and that allowed me to really like pursue drums. I think was having a place to play as a kid, getting my bearings and stuff
Yeah.
together.
Unreal. So this was this like seventh, eighth grade that you were jamming with these dudes, or
Yeah, seventh and eighth grade. That's when we
nice.
had the band going.
Wow. That's
And
cool,
then
man.
yeah, after middle school, that band kind of fizzled out because our middle school like it split and went to two different high schools depending on where you live.
Yeah.
Um, and no one drove at the time, so obviously the band had to break up because we were going to
Yeah.
different schools. Uh, I started playing with some different guys. Nothing really a lot. I was kind of like stagnant for early part of high school, as far as like I still practiced at home and I still loved playing, but
Yeah.
I wasn't really in a band or anything at the time until like 11th, 12th grade.
Okay.
Um,
What
is
were
when I
you
really
listening
started.
to at the time? Was it still
Oh
like
yeah, so this is kind of like where I got into heavy metal and hardcore was like kind
okay.
of like and like um, I remember a girl I was dating at the time. Her sister bought me the Slayer live album.
Oh, sick. Wait. Why?
And I think because I was listening to Pantera at the time, and she liked Pantera too. And she was like, "Did you ever hear Slayer?" And I
Oh,
was just like,
that's
"No, not really." This is like 10th grade, and she's like, "Oh, okay." And then next time I went to her house, like her sister was like, "Here, I got you this," and it was Slayer Live Decade of Regression. And
that's crazy cool.
so yeah, yeah, rocks. And then what's it called? Then I started listening Sepultura Chaos AD. I remember I bought that from a record store next to a pizza place I worked at a couple of times.
Cool.
And when I was walking to my friend's house afterwards, I just remember like listening to it. It's like this is so sick.
Yeah.
um, and one of my friends in high school that I played Dungeons and Dragons with and stuff. Um, he used to give me rides home from high school because we lived, a couple blocks away. And
Yeah.
he's a year older than me, so we had a car. And he'd always be listening to a lot of Long Island and New York hardcore bands, like VOD, 25 to Life, Neglect, like the early Long
Yeah.
Island hardcore stuff, Indecision, stuff like that. And he knew that I like metal because I was like always talking about Slipknot and Seltzer and, Pantera and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's like, if you like that stuff, you should like listen to this stuff too. And I was into it, and he was just like, "I'm going to a show to like write about it for my sociology class. Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Absolutely, yes, let's go."
Oh wow.
'Cause yeah, before that, like I didn't know about like local shows, VFW shows, stuff like that. I
Yeah.
thought concerts only happened at arenas and
Right.
stadiums and stuff like that. I had
Had you been to
seen
one yet? Had you been to a
Yeah,
concert at
yeah,
all?
yeah. Yeah, the
Oh.
first concert I went to was Beastie Boys at Nassau Coliseum on the Hell in a Cell
Wow.
tour, where they
That's
played in the
sick.
rounds.
I've
So
never met
awesome.
anyone that's seen Beastie Boys. That's sick.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like a religious experience, that
Wow.
because I was also a huge Beastie Boys fan. And then finally get to see them live on that tour playing
Wow.
in the round. It was like really like nothing else, for a first
Yeah.
concert. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, and then after that, second concert I went to was Family Values tour, off of the
Yeah.
I rushed the floor,
Dude.
so I had regular seats, and then everyone rushed the gates, and we all like a bunch of us got on the floor. So this is
Oh.
what he did.
Was that Limp
But
Bizkit and Corn?
so Limp Bizkit didn't play because Fred
Okay.
Durst blew out his voice. But it was Incubus on Science
Oh,
before they put out anything else. Before Brandon
okay.
was the
That's
hot guy,
crazy.
he still had the dreads and he
Yeah,
looked like
yeah,
he
yeah.
just hadn't taken a bath in 20 years. Uh,
Wow.
Orgy, Stein.
No
Um,
way.
and then Korn, someone I forget who else played, but yeah, it was like that first Family Values tour. It was like
Wow.
seeing Ramstein was absolutely insane. That
Yeah.
was like our first like America record, like them like breaking that in America. Ramstein
Wow.
when you can still have tons of fire inside, pre
Yeah, dude,
super
that's
light.
crazy that you were at that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I've been to like that
Yeah.
side of concerts, heavy metal, whatever.
Okay.
Now finding out about hardcore. First show I
Yeah.
went to was Glassjaw, VOD. It was a Warped Weevil. They're like,
Wow.
Long Island hardcore band. But we had gotten a flat tire on the way there. We missed like the first half of the show. We walked in like halfway through Glassjaw's set,
Oh man.
and it was at the Levittown Jewish Center, and it was like this big like auditorium with these huge like windows
Yeah.
all around. I remember walking in and just seeing the windows like sweating from
Yeah.
because it was winter. It was like January. The windows were sweating from just like the heat and the
Oh
moisture of
yeah.
everyone running around, moving around in there.
It's
I see people
crazy.
flying off of monitors on the stage, like 20 feet into people. There's actually like someone had posted a YouTube video of that Glassjaw set like a couple of years ago, and I remember seeing
Oh.
it's like that was the first show I went to. It's like
Wow.
700 people for locals only in '98. Like
That is
that's what
crazy.
the Long Island scene was pretty much. And
Wow.
as soon as I walked in, I was like, this is even more of the thing than Slayer is. Like this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
even like
Yeah.
I because it was that there's almost no difference between performer and like fan. There's none of that. Like it's like this ultimate contact.
Yeah.
Whereas like the other stuff is just like, oh, I see that guy on TV, I hear him on the radio, he's coming in here in a helicopter or a tour bus, like all
Mm-hmm.
this huge stuff. Like I like people are paying extra money to get to meet these people, whereas like these people making equally awesome music that kind of like motivates me in a different way. Like they're going to be hanging out next to me watching the next thing after
Right.
they're done. And it
Yeah.
was like that kind of like closest community difference that like I
Wow.
felt like this is like this is like a really cool place to be for me,
Nice.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's amazing explanation. Wow, I feel like I'm there. That's so great. Was that your first time hearing Glassjaw?
Yeah, it was my first time. Yeah, that was my first time hearing Glassjaw. I knew VOD, so that was like the hook, Vision of Disorder. That was the hook my friend Dan got me to go. I loved everything about Glassjaw. I loved everything about VOD. I think they're probably the two like of the prototypical Long Island hardcore sound. I think their early work is pretty much like it, where it's like this eccentric blend of like melodic stuff, but also like really, really heavy and
Oh
like
yeah.
vocals that go in 20 different directions,
Wild. Yeah.
and that's I think they help kind of like shape that
Yeah.
Long Island.
Unreal. Wow. So okay, you got there late, but I'm assuming stayed the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
Just
it was just like one of those things you just like core memory, like
yeah.
foundational moment kind of thing.
Shout out to that homie that brought you, dude. That's cool.
Oh yeah, shout out to him almost. Like it's he was the dude who brought me to all that. And then
Wow.
it was just like how I asked him like how do I find out about more of this? Like
Yeah.
how do you know? What's the sauce? And there was a record store in Center Reach down the block from where we live, called None of the Above. And that was pretty much like the hub for like underground music, like punk and hardcore and ska at the time was still,
Yeah.
still going around as it was bigger, but wasn't it's not like how it is now. But it
Yeah.
was like, that's where you went, that's where all the flyers were, that's where local bands had their demos and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. That became a place where I would find flyers, and then I started working at Hot Topic in the mall.
Oh, sick.
And yeah, so this was like 98, 99 Hot Topic. It's not like Hot Topic it is now. It was a
Yeah.
very different animal back then. Not trying to say I was, oh, it was way cooler back then. It was a little bit cooler. It still was corny as
Well, I
hell.
feel like they had a lot more like music there, no?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. It was a lot less like Invaders in,
Yeah.
and like, but it like we had like the rock wall. Most of it was ICP because ICP was enormous at the time.
Right.
So it was like 3 rows of ICP, 3 rows of Slipknot, like a bunch of random stuff. But then we had a lot of victory bands. So we had like Hatebreed, Strife, One Gun
Right.
Down. We had Converge shirts. We had 10 Yard Fight shirts. We had like
Yeah, I
a
remember
lot of
early on being like, this is where you get good shirts.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There was, and they had comps, which you don't see anymore because I mean, no one makes CDs anymore. But like
Yeah.
a lot of hardcore comps were $1, and you would get like 30 songs on it,
Oh, okay.
or they were like 2.99. So for
Mm-hmm.
like 3.25, you're getting 30 songs. If you hate 15 of them, who
Yeah.
cares? The other 15 are gonna rock, and it's just like one or two songs by each band. You're gonna go find them in and gonna go to None of the Above and get them. You're gonna get them from Hot Topic
Yep.
where we are. You're gonna look for those names on flyers and be like,
Right.
oh, this band H2O, who I heard on this sampler, I'm gonna go see them when they play over there. Like
Yep.
that kind of thing. That's how I found out a lot of bands too, was samplers. Equal Vision Records number 50, which was the yellow one, legendary sampler. I had this
Wow.
one it was this purple one. I think it was called. It was put out by Black Rat Records, East Coast West Coast hardcore. So I found about like Adamantium, a lot of like other Converge stuff. Bane was on there. Um, just a lot of like good like heavy like I always lean more towards the metalcore side of
Yeah.
things than like
Yeah.
the pure punk side of hardcore, just
Yep.
because I was more metal
Same.
historically.
Yeah.
So I always leaned that way. Um, so like the samplers were great. And you don't really see them as much anymore. Um, Now it's more like label-based samplers that like
Yeah.
they'll make a playlist, which is still good. But it was still during the days of like physical media being the only way you
Right.
could access it.
Yeah.
So the samplers were like invaluable.
Wow, that's really cool, man. I'm trying to think like how so this was high school this still.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
okay. Yeah. So for
Mhm.
me, like at the time, the local shows that I was going to. Well, did you guys ever play Romans, the Tiger's Den in Brockton, Mass? Did you ever hear that
No,
venue?
no, no,
That
no.
place was. I was super intimidated by it because I was more like into like the metalcore and stuff, but these were
Mhm.
like straight up like real hardcore shows. Like I think Black My Heart played there a lot, maybe
Mm.
on Broken Wings. So, but those bands like intimidated me because I was just
Yeah.
like, oh, the people in the crowd are just scary. I don't,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I loved the music at the time. But yeah, Unearth played there too. Yeah, but like those are like the three like when I think of like the hardcore I was listening, even though Unearth is way more metalcore, but like Unbroken Wings and Black My Heart, I
Mm.
still listen to Black My Heart all the time.
Oh yeah, man.
I love,
OVW is still going around, man.
dude. Yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah. It's
they're
just
having like
crazy.
another moment, which is cool with this like, you know, beat down resurgence that we've been seeing in the past couple of years.
Yeah, man. No, it's just so much fun. That's cool. Okay, so when did you end up joining more of like a hardcore metalcore band at the time, early on?
No, so the first couple of bands that I played in, so I early on I kind of said to myself like, I'm just gonna play in as many bands as I can.
Cool.
I'm gonna try to do that. Because in my mind, like that was the best way for me to practice getting better at something,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with people, you know. And so, I was in a band at the end of high school that kind of fizzled out. It was just me and a bunch of friends that were just doing covers. We had like
Yeah.
two originals. We played one show at a small bar. And then that was, we graduated and everyone just did whatever they did.
Yeah.
Um, then I joined, like, with one of my managers at Hot Topic, it was kind of like a pop punk band, kind of. Um, I wasn't really into pop punk, but they needed a drummer. I was really good friends with him. Uh, it was just easy, it was just a band to be in.
Yeah.
Just really wanted to be in a band that didn't know anyone else around. Um, I tapped all my resources. So, and, I mean, you have to think that too at the time. This is like pre-social media,
Yeah.
like internet is still kind of new.
Right.
Um, Get file on AIM chat is the main way to
Wow.
send songs to people aside from like LimeWire because like early piracy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Wow.
like that's the era we're living.
Yeah.
Um, so there wasn't like a message board where you could be like, hey, or at least I didn't find out about it yet. I didn't start getting on boards. Like I wasn't on the B9 board really. There was a
Okay.
local one, the Long Island Zoo board, that I kind of like messed with more.
Oh, okay.
Um, you know, to talk to all the kids at home. Message boards was like social media pre-social media
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before app. It's just where you could go and bitch about shit to people and start fights on the internet.
Oh, that's funny, man. Yeah. I was like, 'cause I was like, I was born in 1990, so I was like, yeah, it was like,
Oh, so yeah, you were just like under that.
yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
born I was born in '82, so like
Got it, got it, got it.
generation before. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So like yeah, that was like the only way I found out about other people who played music that were looking for stuff was my job at Hot Topic.
Yep.
Um, and luckily my manager needed a drummer, so I was like yes. And
Nice.
they lived like an hour away, but I didn't care. We eventually like me, that manager, and like 5 other people all got fired on the same day. Um, it wasn't like for stealing or anything. It was actually for being too good at a job.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know. I see what you're
it's
saying.
a
Yeah.
very long story, but yeah.
Yeah.
So then I started working closer to where the band was. It's like my second year of college. Um, and so then we that was like we did we had booked a half U.S. tour. We were going to drive down to Florida, drive up through like St. Louis and Chicago, and then cut back across Pennsylvania because our bass player, went to Pittsburgh for
Okay.
college. So he knew people over there so that we could play on campus in a place to stay.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Before we drove across all of Pennsylvania to get to Philly. So
Yeah.
like that's the way we mapped it out. Turns out the first leg of the tour, all of it gets canceled.
Oh, man.
For one reason or another, the 4 shows that we had going down to Florida just all fell through. Um, so there was and we couldn't get it rebooked. There used to be a book called Book Your Own Fucking Life. Um,
Okay.
and it became a website. And basically what it was like it was like this like punk collective that kept record of all of the DIY and small venues
Wow.
across the United States.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they had it was like a yellow pages for this. So it gave the name of the club, the address, and the phone number, and the last known like contact person. And I think they would update it like once a year or whatever,
Wow.
or as often as they could. And you
Yeah.
could write to them and say, "Can you send me a list?" And they'll send you it. And then you can book your own fucking life. You could book your own tours, like
Wow.
because smaller hardcore and punk bands, the internet again. Sorry to keep saying that, but like
Oh,
it just
yeah, it's
shows you
true.
like the length of difficulty that it was to kind of like get
Yep.
started at the time. Um, you know, so we tried making all these calls and no avail. So we just kind of hung out the first leg of the tour. First show
Yeah.
we played was in Arkansas, but it was fun. We on the road for like 3 weeks, had a
Cool.
blast. Living in a van, you like learn how to do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, cheap beer and peanut butter sandwiches and ramen a lot.
Yeah,
And
man. What's the name of the
sleeping
band?
dying cognito.
Cool.
Yeah, we mostly played for free beer and just to hang out with our friends at a place. Um, it was a blast. And then
Yeah.
that just kind of fizzled out too. I want it was just tough for me to commute because I wasn't working closer to practice anymore,
Right.
and
Right.
everyone else was like kind of doing their own things, and
Yeah.
it was one of those things like we played a last show and just didn't realize it was our last show when we played it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still in contact with all the dudes, so we talk
That's
a lot.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I always try to keep connections like that. Like
Yeah, of
bands that
course.
after that, I was like in an emo band, and we did like a little bit of a touring thing. We were like a Taking Back Sunday worship band, but
Okay.
I had never listened to Taking Back Sunday at that
Yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah.
I only started listening to them like actively like maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
To where I'm like, oh, I'm going to put on this Taking Back Sunday record and listen to it and kind of like dig into it.
Yeah.
Had I have known that's like what we were trying to do at the time, I probably would have been
Yeah, that's funny. There you go. Yeah, I was a late bloomer to Taking Back Sunday. I remember my buddy
different.
really liked them, but at the time, dude, I was so like Tool, Dream Theater, just like progressive metal guy. I was like, dude, this is
Yep.
stupid, bro. And then I
Yeah.
like
No,
actually I got onto it like in like high school. Yeah, I was like, actually, I take it back. This is actually cool. I'm sorry, bro.
yeah. Yeah. It's like there's nothing wrong with having fun. There's
No,
nothing
yeah,
wrong with
no,
being
no, no,
silly.
yeah. I
Like
was
I was like,
snobby metal dude. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. This all of this record's in 4/4. Can you throw it in the garbage for me, please?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so funny. Yeah, dude. I was like, there's like no breakdowns and like it sounds sloppy, like ugh. But now I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, I get it. It's so good.
yeah. See,
So funny, man.
but like they were from Long Island.
Yeah.
They're from Long
Oh, yeah,
Island,
yeah,
so
yeah,
like
yeah.
for me to like not be like you had to really work hard to avoid Taking Back
Right,
Sunday during
right.
that time.
Of course.
So like like had I known that's what we were trying to sound like, I probably would have tried to make the band sound like that a little bit more. Like
Yeah,
I'm still
yeah,
playing for the song.
yeah.
I was in a grind metal band after that, and that was a lot of fun.
Sick. What
Um,
was the name of that band?
Fire for Effect.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. It was like like kind of like Daughtersy,
Yeah.
kind of that. That's kind of like what we were going for. Daughters, Dillinger,
So sick.
kind of stuff.
Love it.
That was a ton of fun. I remember trying out for that band. After like the second or third song, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna go outside and make a phone call," and I just puked all over the place because like,
I knew you were gonna say that.
yeah, I was like, I don't know if it was because of like the nerves and anxiousness and like being so psyched to play like heavy music again finally,
Yeah.
or it was just like the basement was hot. I don't. It's a combination of a lot of things, but I just went outside and puke. I come back and I sit down at the pit, and they're like, "Did you just throw up outside? We heard you throwing up." And I was like, "Yeah, I threw up. I threw up a
Uh,
lot." They're like, all right, well, you have the job. Like anyone who throws up and doesn't leave and comes back to play, you're in the band.
that dude. Was it that dude? Is this online? Is there any like remnants of this band anywhere? Can I hear it?
Oh yeah, I can send you every song we recorded.
Oh, dude, I gotta hear
Yeah,
this.
I have it in Google Drive, man. I'm like a digital hoarder,
Yeah,
archivist of like everything that I've done musically, so
that's
I could send you
awesome.
anything
Oh,
you
I
want.
would love to
Yeah,
hear that. That's
yeah,
anyone who pukes
yeah,
and doesn't leave is in the band.
yeah.
Dude, that's good. Wow,
And
that's freaking
yeah, we
cool.
did that for a while. And then and then that band kind of like fizzled out. Um, and and also during that time, I was like in other stuff. Like
Yeah.
there was a singer-songwriter guy that he needed a drummer, so I was in a band with him, and then like a guy who played bass in that band with him, he was like, "Hey, I'm doing something else, and I need a drummer."
Yeah.
So I
Cool.
played with him, and just more straight ahead rock and roll stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The sound guy at the club, a couple of my bands played with, was just like, "Hey, me and my brother do this band. Do you want to beat drums in it?" Absolutely. So I had a problem. I always have had a problem saying no to playing drums in a band with someone.
Yeah.
I always had to
It's
stop
good.
that. I've had to say no a lot more recently because
Right.
life gets in the way.
Yeah,
But
man.
for most of my 20s into my 30s, someone asked me to play drums for them. It was always yes, and I'll figure out the rest of my life later
Yeah.
in order to fit a sixth band into my rotation. You
Yeah.
know,
Unreal.
um,
Good for you,
and I
bro.
yeah, and I'm in a couple of like just kind of segue into a little something else. I'm in like a lot of group chats with drummers of various ages. Some
Yeah.
are just getting started playing, some are my
Okay.
contemporaries. And a lot of times the younger guys are like, like, oh, like I'm trying to practice this and I'm trying to get in this type of band. Like what would you, like what's everyone's kind of like fix all or suggestion for that?
Yeah.
And I always tell them, play in as many bands as you can, play with as many different people as you can,
Mm-hmm.
because having like, surgically precise paradiddles will only carry you so far. If you can't work with people and personalities,
Right.
which there's a lot of in music, and especially
Yeah.
with like, people who think this song is mine, you're gonna run a lot of that. If you want to work and play drums, you have to be able to get along with people and vibe with
Yeah.
people, and like, you know, not try to dominate, and really work within the song to make the best product possible, and not just ultimately show off how cool you are. And
Yep.
a lot of them take it to heart, and a lot of the other cats in the chat are just like, yeah, that's absolutely it. Because practicing and playing and recording yourself in your room, your basement, your practice space, that is all good. That is amazing and awesome. It's getting your name out there, but at the end of the day, like you need to be able to have that language, that musical conversation with people. And
Oh
if you're
yeah.
only used to talking to yourself, you're not going to be able to hear anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Listen to the man,
So,
everyone. That's good advice.
so
As,
that's why
yeah.
so early on, I always just said yes, and that helps. It helps you pick up style. It helps you, like you're not always playing fast. You can play a little bit slow if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel awkward for you.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah. Yeah.
two turning double bass BPMs, it's like you find that sweet spot, you're in there. But like now do 110,
Right. Right.
same, and just keep it the same. That was hard for me for a while. Like I could play fast, but I couldn't play slow with the same precision and power and stuff.
Right.
So
Yep.
playing all those different styles really allowed me to get those other muscle memory
There you
from the
go.
style.
So cool. So, all right then. So then, when does Incendiary come into the fold here?
I did, so after the grindcore band, I played in a Christian metalcore band called A Love for Enemies for about a year.
Okay.
We did a full US tour with the Dan Lomeli,
Oh,
Alex,
sick.
fellow SJC family member.
Yeah, dude.
Um, we did a month with the Data Remembers right before they
Wow.
became the biggest band on the planet.
Yeah, dude.
Um,
For real.
yeah, we like I remember like we did that full US with them, and then like a year later they were like on the main stage at Warped Tour, and then two
Yeah.
years later they were headlining Warped Tour, and it was just like, oh my
Right.
god,
Yeah. Crazy. So
crazy.
great. I think they just like
Yeah,
headlined when we were young. I could be wrong, or like one of the
yeah.
later bands for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. They only do big things. It's
Yeah.
absolutely bonkers
Yeah.
their rise. And like I said,
Yeah.
I did that tour with them. They were all like 16, 17, 18 years old.
Nuts.
Like we got them into gambling. I wasn't that first in metalcore, but I love all those guys.
Yeah.
Again, I'm still in contact, even the grind band. I mean, we're pretty much most people who I played music with, I still keep in contact
Yeah.
with.
That's what's up.
I find that you build a different type of friendship with the people you play music with than people you hang out with,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
almost it's like a different like connection kind of thing,
Wow.
because
Yeah.
I feel like friend, like friends, acquaintances, people who you spend time with. That's like, like here. But I think when you play music with someone, it's like both. You're
Yeah,
locking in a different way than just like, oh,
absolutely.
we both like Quentin Tarantino movies. It's like, oh, we both have played the song together and have
Yeah,
ride the wave together. It's like a
it's
different
true,
type of
man.
of
Totally
connection.
get that. It's cool.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I played in that Christian metalcore band for a year, did a full U.S. tour, got even more exposure to, tour life and how all of that works. It's set up fast, don't eat up the band after you use time, break down off stage, like that kind of stuff. Take care of your gear, get cases, like, all that kind of stuff.
Oh
Don't
yeah,
basically don't be a nuisance to the way the show is supposed to run,
there you go.
you know. Um,
Uh,
and again, that's invaluable stuff that you can't take lessons for.
right.
Like you actually do. You can't go to set up and break down my drums so that then after us could get on school. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah,
certain things
exactly.
that
That's
you
funny.
don't do at that time, and the stage manager says, "Get your shit off stage." Oh, okay. I don't want to do this again. I don't want
Yeah.
another guy in to yell at me again, so I'm gonna just get all my shit off stage fast.
Right, right, right,
It's
right,
like,
right, right.
and then I got playing in the Christian metalcore band, and it was actually, excuse me. Ooh, I've known the Straight from the Path guys for a very long time.
Okay.
They're from my hometown. We played roller hockey together. They went to the same high school I did.
Wow.
We hung out all the time, all the time. And Tom has been a very good friend of mine for pretty much that entire time. He got me in a Love for Enemies because their drummer they had parted ways with, and he's like, Alfie, Love for Enemies, and Stray. We tour a lot together.
Hmm.
You want to play drums for them? I know you can definitely handle the music. So that's how I got into Love for Enemies.
Whoa.
And then he knew the guys from Incendiary. Um, and what had happened was Brendan and Dan were the only two left because the other three dudes in the band, they all moved out of state. They all moved up to, I think they moved to Alton, Massachusetts.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
they
Interesting.
moved up there for work/school.
Got it.
And they still wanted to do the band. I knew the original bass player, Dan, from another manager at Hot Topic. My
Hot
friend John,
topic,
who was
man.
in a hardcore, yeah, who was in a hardcore band with him. So I had known Dan for at least 10 years at that point.
Yeah.
And so Tom just did the intro. I was like, "Oh, Dan, you remember me, right? From John Lewis, Center Zero." I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing you around." It's like, "Yeah, you want to play some songs? Yeah. All right, you like Stripe? Yeah, I like Stripe. I like Snapcase. I like Earth Crisis. California Takeover, one of my favorite
Got
records,
it.
live records to listen to." Uh, so yeah, that's the kind of vibe we're doing here. And um,
Sick.
me and Bob Pat, Rob Nobile, the guy who plays guitar in the band, and this other guy, Kevin, we all came in at the same time. Original guitar player Kevin I wasn't really fitting the vibe too much. I couldn't really write with him. And then he did like a no call no show to like 3 shows in a row.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, luckily our friend Brian Audley, who was playing in a band called Soldiers at the time, um, knew our songs, like filled in for 2 shows, and then we were like, "Yo, do you just want to be in the band?" And he was just like, "Yeah, sure."
Nice.
So, and that was it. And so the core four of us, me, Brendan, Brian, and Rob,
Okay.
been in Incendiary since 2007.
Oh wow. Nice.
That's when that lineup solidified. And then we've gone through 3 different bass players for one reason or another. But at the end of the day, it's just like the writing and recording has been us four.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Wow. And were you had anything been released yet? Like a recorded and release, or were you there for like the first EP or whatever it was?
They had a demo
Okay.
was out. So I think it was like five or six songs. Um, and when once that first kind of lineup, like with Dan on bass and then me, Rob, Brian, and Brendan was like solidified, we started writing off stuff like almost right away.
Wow.
So that was a 3 song 7-inch that we put out.
Yeah.
Um, and then and then once we were on that for a little bit and put a couple more shows, um, then we started working on Crusade, which would be the first full length, and that came out in 2000.
Got it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But we were all like either in college, working full time, or in graduate school at the time.
Yeah.
So we didn't have the ability to tour full time as
Yeah.
was like what you were supposed to do at the
Right.
time. Because Backtrack was just getting started around that time too, and they were like right off the bat full U.S. tours. They were just like cranking all
Right.
the time. A lot
Right.
of other bands in that early like end of 2000s hardcore as it was kind of like having its moment, like
Yeah.
because we lost a lot of momentum when Beatdown One was around. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Irate,
Yeah.
Punk the Face, and all that other
Right.
stuff.
Right.
Uh, a lot of venues closed down, too many fights. They didn't want the
Mm-hmm.
lot kind of the extra liability, too many injuries, stuff getting
Yeah.
broken. So the scene kind of like cannibalized itself around
Interesting.
here on Long Island, to where we lost a lot of venues, and we had to like police that pretty hard for like 2 years to kind of like start
Wow.
having it swing back the other way. So, and when we were getting started, no one cared about the type of hardcore we were playing. It was like half heart was like big, getting
Yeah.
huge. Every time I die, it was
Right.
huge at the time. Like everyone was kind of like coming out of that metalcore victory era. It's
Mm-hmm.
like the newer kind of stuff. But we all grew up on that, so that's what we played.
Yeah.
I love Tony Danza's Tap Dance
Oh,
Extravaganza and
dude.
All Parish. Like
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
some of my favorite things. So like I was very metalcore, like Whitechapel and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But they were more like traditional hardcore. But I think where we met in the middle is how we kind of like crafted our sound. Like
Yeah.
there was a lot of similarities between us that our differences made it interesting.
That's yeah, dude. No, it's fire, man. That's so cool. Because okay, so and did you ever go on major tours or have you guys more been like the festival? Because I feel like you're always playing like the big festivals or like the big hardcore
Well,
festivals and stuff. So I was like
yeah,
interested in that.
yeah. Well, I mean, we're at a point now where we're lucky enough that enough people care about us that we could play these festivals.
Yeah.
It wasn't always that.
Right, right, right.
Like we were a band for a while,
Mm-hmm.
touring in my minivan with no trailer, borrowing equipment, you know.
Unreal.
And I call it the hardcore army reserve. It's 2 weekends a month, 1 week a year. That was our
Yeah.
touring schedule. So
Yeah.
we would set up weekends where we could cover a circular area in a weekend.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of New England, southern eastern seaboard. So we'd play like our first show would be Friday night in either like Brooklyn, New
Okay.
Jersey, someplace we had to leave work a little bit early or shoot there right after work.
Mm-hmm.
Get there, set up our stuff, pack it up, drive upstate. We played Albany like 20 something times. We played the Hudson Valley a lot.
Yep.
Shout out to Mindforce. Even before Mindforce, we were playing with Live
Right.
Laser. You know,
Right.
we played Albany a bunch. We go over to Connecticut. We play
Mm-hmm.
Anchors Up all the time.
Okay.
That other one in Holyoke that was it was like a longhouse with like a deck. I forget what it was called, but I remember we played there with Cock Punch one time. I remember, which was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, in case you experienced side project.
Okay.
And then if we would go down to like Baltimore, New Jersey,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, like stuff that we could cover in a weekend. And then we would
Yeah.
do 1 week a year. Where like one time we drove down to Florida. We did California. We flew out to California one time. We
Mm-hmm.
went to Europe when absolutely no one gave a shit, and we were just like, let's just do it because we're gonna do it. You know,
Yeah.
because if we wait to do it, we're probably never gonna do it.
Right.
So let's just do it and have fun. And
Yeah.
we did it, and it was amazing. And that's
Unreal.
probably that first group of, you know, European mainland Europe shows, probably the reason why we're still able to go there today. You know,
Did you
um,
guys book it yourself, or were you
yeah,
out with someone?
we went out with someone, this band,
Okay.
Iceberg.
Okay.
They're
Cool.
from all over Europe. But we hit them up, and it's just like we're looking to do shows over there. Let's get something together. And they picked
Wow.
us up and drove us, and you know, we all got
Sick.
a terrible, terrible virus.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was one of those that bounce around the tour van, and you just like projectiles shooting liquid out of every hole in your body
Oh
for about
man.
48 hours. I
Oh.
got it right before Germany, and I was like absolutely dead for 2 Germany shows. I don't even
Oh
remember
man.
what Germany looked like from that first tour because I was asleep,
Wow.
except for when I was walking into a hotel, walking out of a hotel, walking into a venue, playing for 20 minutes. and then getting back to bed. Like I was asleep the rest of the time. It was
Unreal. Damn,
awful.
dude.
But you got to do it, you know, because
Yeah,
you're
you gotta
there.
do it.
What
Right?
if you cancel the show in Germany and say sorry, I don't feel good.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you
yeah.
just gotta do it.
Yep.
Um,
Wow.
you know, so there was a lot of time where we did stuff where it was just like playing to handfuls of people,
Yeah.
but we would just go and do it because we wanted to do it.
Yeah,
So we
man.
went and did it. And then once then we'd put out those three splits in a year with Unrestrained, Suburban Scum, and Zavalva. And that's also around the time we started working with Closed Casket with Justin Loudon and Closed Casket as they
Got
were just
it.
starting to get rolling. And we've been on Closed Casket ever since. And then
That's cool.
um, Cost of Living really like was a big game changer for us. And
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
that's when we started playing like bigger things and doing
Yep.
bigger shows and stuff like that. And more people started to care. But there was probably about like I want to say like 6 or 7 years of just like you know just doing
Grinding.
it for the love of the
Yeah.
game, more or less.
Sick, man. In that time, or even after that, any like really memorable tours or shows that you
Oh
often
yeah,
think back to?
I mean, almost too many to count.
That's good. Sick.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. We played. I mean, I got to play with Figure Four in Canada. You
Hmm.
know, it was Madball, Scum, Expire, and Figure Four. And
Wow.
crazy. I'm a huge Comeback Kid fan, and I'm
Yeah.
playing with Figure Four, who I was like, I thought I'd never see this band play live, let alone do shows with them.
Right.
That was crazy. Getting to play with Comeback Kid. Uh, I mean, we've become such good friends with everyone in that band. Shout out
It's
to everyone in
cool.
them like picking up on us and being like, hey, you were doing the the Turn It Around, anniversary show. It
Yeah.
was at Samson's Party House. So you want to play this? It's like, yeah,
Yeah, we do. That's it.
like, yeah.
Wow.
We did a leg of the 25th Hour tour with Terror, Take
Oh, wow.
Offense, Code Orange. Who else was on
Sick.
that? Um, there was just like it was just a banger lineup every
Yeah.
day, pretty much. Um, Shout out to Rainfest. Every Rainfest was great for me. Going up there to
Where
Seattle.
is that? Oh, sorry. Okay,
Rainfest
cool.
was up in Seattle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't do it anymore. We played two, but it was such a great vibe, great time.
Yeah.
Um, in general, like you know, we like I said, we never had the ability to tour full time as much as we'd like to. Had a lot. I mean, I don't even know about most of them, but the amount of offers and the types of offers that we've received that we've had to say no to because we all have jobs and now
Yeah.
kids and stuff like that,
Right, right,
it
right.
would probably make most people jump off a bridge.
Oh,
With the
man.
stuff that we've had to say no to. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you know, uh, you wanted to do a month in Europe with these three bands that you're going to every show's going to be sold out 800 people. It's going to be bananas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I sure would love to go to Europe for a month, but I have to keep the lights on in my house. And,
Yeah.
we all made choices
Yep.
years ago.
Yeah.
So, it's a friend of mine, again, it's like almost a non sequitur, but it kind of makes sense. A friend of mine, John Kane, who was the original second guitar player from Straight from the Path, been
Hmm.
another really good friend of mine since high school. Um, he had quit Stray just as they were getting big, right after Villains came out.
Okay.
And a lot of people are like, yo, why would you do this? Like, you love playing guitar. How are you going to get to tour full time and make records? Like, this
Right.
is the fucking dream. And he goes, I can't hedge my future on what a 20-year-old thinks of
It's
it, you
interesting.
know? And as cool as it is to make music, and as great as it is that, like, people are into you, which is great.
Yeah.
Um, like, at the end of the day, that's what it is,
Right.
like, it's so fickle. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
wind can change at any time that like to kind of put all of your financial eggs in this basket without like a perceivable backup plan or something else to
Hmm.
fall back on is crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
I
And
get it, man.
yeah, and we were all older at the point when Incendiary was jumping off. We were already past that. Oh well, I could fuck up my job and still do this band and make enough money and then like get another job afterwards because it doesn't matter. We
Right.
were already too old for that
I
It doesn't
gotcha.
matter.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it was a bit, it's been tough at times, but it has been so rewarding to be in this band, to be
Well, yeah,
able
because it's like you guys have like the career outside of it, but you still get to play these sick festivals and like put out records, like change the way you think about pain. I remember I hit you up the day it came out, like, dude, this is sick.
Mhm.
It's so fire, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I was talking to my last podcast. It's not out yet, but Johnny Booth. I don't know if you heard of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right?
So Scott, yeah, dude,
Yeah.
same thing. They all have jobs. They don't tour that much, right? They can't,
Mhm.
but they're still putting out sick music, and like Under Oath hit them up to open up for them. So it's like you're still doing the thing, right? But have like your other life too. It's a
Yeah,
unique setup, I think.
definitely is. It's not something that we planned for. I think that too is a good thing to address because a lot we've talked to a lot of bands, and from playing these festivals, you meet a lot of bands who
Yeah,
either like, because we're at the point now where people are like, "Oh, you got me into playing hardcore." Like,
yeah,
it's like I heard Crusade, and they were like, "That's the craziest thing I ever heard." And I wanted to play hardcore after hearing that, or Cost of Living really changed my life and got me into hardcore, and now I'm
yeah.
playing in this band who is on their way up, and it's crazy to meet
It's
people
cool.
that you influenced in that way. It's a really like um it makes my heart feel full to meet these people,
Yeah,
and talk to them and interact with them. Um, and so, man, I totally fell off the train.
it's all good.
Uh,
Oh, the unique setup of having another
oh yeah,
career, but
yeah,
also being
yeah.
in a band.
So a lot of times, these other bands are saying like, "Oh, we're going to do the incendiary method, where we're not going to tour a lot, and we're going to get on all these festivals." And we always go, "That is not a method. That
Right? Yeah,
wasn't a plan. We just like this is all we can do." The other part of it too is like people have to like be into what you're doing,
of
you know?
course.
Like if you can't like, for lack of a better term, like, put out okay songs and then
Right.
expect to have a kind of tour schedule and be good. Like I think we just wrote songs that we liked so much, and at the time there was no one else really doing it. So,
Mm-hmm.
like people were into it and it was cool. And like internet started happening and
Yep.
streaming music started happening and we were getting out there more, and
Yep.
more and more people find out about it, and that allowed us to do more stuff. And then it became like, when we would go, if we would fly to California and play, it'd be like, hey, California people, this is like probably going to be the one time this year we're here. So if you live near where we're playing, like
Yeah.
come on down. And I think that's why a lot of our shows out of state and our fly out shows do pretty well, is because like it's like this kind of like, oh, like the one, it's like what the once a year time where you're gonna be
Yeah.
able to see it
It's
play.
the
And
scarcity. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Supply and demand.
exactly, exactly. And for us, it's the same thing because of how infrequently we get to play now, probably more than historically we have been. We take advantage of every opportunity that we get.
Yeah.
We really like revel and relish in the time we get to spend playing, you know, um, and just like understand that like we don't play infrequently because that's the way we want to do it. We do it because
Right.
that's the way we have to do it.
Yep.
And but again, for me, it just makes everything like way, way, way more worth it.
Absolutely.
To do it that way.
So cool, man. What's any what's like I guess the next thing lined up for you guys in terms of like show wise?
We have Flyover Fest in Tulsa.
Cool.
That's in about 3 weeks.
Nice.
We're headlining the second day of that, so that's gonna
Oh,
be
sick.
yeah, it's gonna be a real banger. And then December we have our 10th annual holiday show
Oh,
at
cool.
the newly renovated Amityville Music Hall. Um, Shout out to them for hosting our holiday show every year. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, this year is going to be great. We got Missing Link playing with us, who's been friends of ours for a while, and it's good. It'll be really really good. We're raising money for a memorial fund for a friend of ours who passed earlier this
Oh,
year.
I'm sorry, man.
Um, that's all right. But thank you. Yeah, each year with the fundraiser, we try to raise money for like a cause or something that's closely affects someone in the band or someone that we know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so this year it's a fundraiser for a memorial service for our friend. Um, so yeah, and it's something that I look forward to every year because it's like a
Yeah,
AMH donates the room to us to book the show for the fundraiser and everything, and we it always sells out, but we try to get everyone in that we can.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah,
Community, man. You guys have, yeah,
absolutely.
it seems really unique over there. I know a lot of places have like a good scene, but I don't know. The New York one seems really strong, so that's what's up.
Yeah,
I
man,
love it,
always has.
man. Wow. Well, on that note, then I'm gonna leave it there because that was
All right.
cool, dude. I hope that show is sick.
Okay.
Um, but I really appreciate you coming on, dude. This was awesome. I'm happy
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
you get to do this still, and
Hmm.
you're really inspiring a ton of people still, bro. It's pure good music that is
Thank
heavy,
you.
but I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. And if anybody watching this ever wants to like chat me up about anything, like questions about being in a band or drums or anything like that, Danny_Hammer at Instagram. Uh, I will talk to anybody for as long as you want to talk to me.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you so much, and hopefully
thank you.
I will catch you soon, brother.
Absolutely, man. I'll see you next time.
Later.
Later.
Boom.